The country's parole system is once again being debated following the murder of a Limpopo woman. A 35-year-old man who was out on parole is believed to have murdered the woman before, rather committing suicide. Now, the victim's family reported her missing a week before her body was discovered. Police suspect that she was killed by Rodi Khatla, who she is believed to have been in a relationship with. Now, Khatla received a 14-year prison sentence in 2015 for murdering his then-girlfriend, but was released on parole this year. As we track that story, we are now joined by, of course, the Department of Correctional Services, Singabakho Nxumalo, to tell us a little bit more about the parole rules that we follow here in South Africa. Singabakho, good evening, and thank you very much for your time. People are angry that perpetrators of gender-based violence are exploiting loopholes in our parole regime and are coming out and recommitting the same crimes. What are the rules? What are the parameters for one to be considered for parole?
A very good evening to you, and thank you for having us. I think the public is correct and right to be angry. One wouldn't necessarily expect that someone who has served time will be placed out and decide to go back into the life of crime in less than 3 months. Surely something didn't go right there. Hence, as a department, we are looking into this matter, investigating to say what are the circumstances, why will this person go back into the life of crime. We have checked his profile, and it does indicate that he participated in our rehabilitation programs and he was considered for parole placement at the correct time. Then the question is, why will then a person go back into a life of crime having spent time and done the relevant rehabilitation programs? So it's something that we're looking at, but also to say the program that we started 2 years ago to specifically deal with sexual offenders, to say how best can we make it effective so that we can deal with this sketch. It does hurt us. It does hurt the state because there's a lot of money that gets invested to inmates. And when, they go out there and go back into the life of crime, then it means it's a waste of money. It's also causing more harm to the community. And it's something that, we really have to, again, always have to go back and look into the parole system to say, where are these gaps and how best can we close them? But fortunately, the parole system is under review and looking at all these things to say we need to find an end to this. It cannot go on that parolees go, back into community and cause even more harm.
But Zude, that's not really what I'm asking. What I'm asking you is, are there set rules as to how this is considered? You've got a guy sentenced in 2015. He's out within 3 years. Does that kind of punishment fit the crime that has been committed, and therefore it will detract him or discourage him from committing that crime again?
There are rules, and it's a very detailed process. And I think I need to correct something. According to our records, this person was sentenced in 2013. Hence, when you calculate to say the 14 years, then the 7 years would have lapsed this year. Hence, then the parole board had to consider him for placement. But again, we need to raise that when the parole board considers you for placement, it's not an automatic process, which then goes into a question. What is it that we look at when we consider a person for parole placement? There's quite a number of elements, or call them variables, to say, yes, Singabakho was sentenced to 10 years. And when he was admitted into a correctional facility, an assessment was done, which is needs-based, and then a correctional sentence plan was drawn up, which he then signed to say, this is what I will do in my 10 years, where I will spend at least 5 years inside the correctional facility. And if I participate in all relevant rehabilitation programs, which have been identified for me, because when a person is admitted, an assessment is done by various experts, which will be your psychologist, your social workers, your educationists, our healthcare professionals, to say, okay, what is it that must be corrected, which is an offending behavior in this person? And to say, once that has been corrected, what type of keys must we then make them available so that upon or once the person has done serving a sentence, this person can go out there and start living a different life. So when then a person is considered for parole placement, they look at all those elements in the correctional sentence plan to say, have you met that? It's like a checklist to say, you've done this, you've done that. But that is not enough. They still have to now go through the reports of the psychologists, social workers, and psychiatrists, where relevant, to say, what are they saying? Has this person changed? Does this person accept that indeed he offended someone and had to serve time? And if all these reports and that checklist, comes back positive to say, this person is fit to go back into the community, then the parole board, will then recommend that this person be placed on parole, which will then happen. Hence, then, when a person goes back into the life of crime once it's placed out, we then need to go back into the whole profile and check in case something may not have been done accordingly, or if perhaps there were loopholes.
Is it the view then of the department, very briefly, that these rules, as elaborate as they are, need to be reviewed because there are obviously some gaps?
One of the gaps that we have identified is that when a person is brought to us to start serving a sentence, is only coming to us with a warrant of detention from the court and the paper which tells us what the offense that this person committed. For instance, if you killed a person, it will just say murder. It will not even tell us to say, was it a femicide case or, domestic violence, or give us the circumstances under which this person committed the offense. We are therefore saying it's one of the things that needs to be correct to say we need to get a full profile of a person from when an arrest, was effected, all the reports, by the investigating officer, so that when we have to consider a person, we look at him fully to say, this person did the following when he or she was committing an offense, so that even when we rehabilitate the person, we take all those elements, into consideration, because it will simply say murder. It will not even tell us whether this person killed his wife or killed his close friend, and what were the other elements to that effect. Hence, then we've said we need to close that loophole, and that. Again, even when it goes to the parole sitting, when the person is considered, we also need other players there. It cannot just be the parole board alone. But although we have members of the community, but if let's say an investigating officer who worked on the case, is still alive and is still there, you want that person to come back so that this person can also go through what is contained in that report and be satisfied that no, indeed, this person will not go out there and be a threat to communities.